Hi, this is Mrs. Robertson, and today is Friday, the 25th of February. This is my third period class, and we're going to go over the answers to our homework. Just a little disappointed today on some of my students not knowing what to do. The first thing you have to do is you're going to compare it to the total. So you're going to find the total when you add those all together. What is the total when you add all of the students together? Yes?
150.
150. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
Good. That's going to be your denominator. So, football, 45 over 150. That simplifies down to 3/10. 3/10 as a decimal is 0.3. As a percent is 30%. Any questions on how to do these now? The next one, tennis. 18 over 150 simplifies to 3 over 25. That is 12 hundredths, which equals 12%. Any questions? Gymnastics. 12 over 150. That will simplify to 2 over 25. 2 25ths is 8 hundredths, which equals 8%. For volleyball, you have 9 over 150. 3 divides them both. That will give you 3 over 50, which is 6 hundredths, which is 6%. Any questions on how to go from a chart and write the part as a fraction, decimal, percent? Very good. Then let's go to number 5. 3 out of every 10 students ages 6 to 14 have a magazine subscription. Suppose there are 30 students in Annabelle's class. About how many will have a magazine subscription? Okay, so we start off with 3 out of 10. That is going to equal how many out of 30? Well, our denominators have a common factor of 3, or you multiply 10 times 3. That gives you 30. So you're going to take 3 times 3, and the answer is 9. 9 students. These are the subscription. The bottom is the total. Any questions on how to do that? Okay, in number 6, use the graph that shows the percent of cat owners who train their cats in each category. Well, climbing furniture, clawing furniture, and fighting with other animals. I hope they're training it not to fight with other animals. Anyway, let's go on. It says in part A, out of 255 cat owners, predict how many owners train their cat not to climb the furniture. Okay, so here, not to climb furniture. 43%. So if you have 255 owners, 43% are teaching them not to climb on furniture. So you're going to take 255 times 0.43. And when you multiply that, you get 109.6, and they rounded it to 110. They had 109.6, and they rounded it up to 110 people. Any questions? Part B, out of 316 cat owners, predict how many cat owners trained their cat not to claw furniture. Here, you will have 316 times 0.29. Everyone knows how to change a percent to a decimal. 316 times 29 hundredths, 91.64, which they rounded to 92. Any questions? And then for number 7, the school librarian recorded the types of books students checked out on a typical day. Suppose there are 605 students, so this is for 605 students now, enrolled at the school. Predict the number of students that prefer humor books Compare this to the number of students at school who prefer nonfiction. Okay, so types of books checked out, number of students. Now here, the total number of students in this, when you add them all, the total will be 13 plus 8 plus 15 plus 6 plus 13 plus 8 plus 15 plus 6 plus 13. Did you come up with a total of 55? So the total is 55. So it wants to know, predict the number of students who prefer humor. So that's 13 over 55. I'm going to show my work over here. 13 over 55 equals what over 605? I'm going to do cross products and multiply, or divide. 55 times x equals 13 times 605. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 55 to get x. So 13 times 605 divided by 55. Did you get 143? That's what the book has, so that's the right answer, 143 humor books. And the number of students that prefer nonfiction will be 88. Let's see, nonfiction is 8. So here you have 8 over 55 equals x over 605. Now 55 is probably a factor of 805. I could check it out, or 605. 605 divided by 55. Yeah, if you take it times 11, 55 times 11 is 605. 8 times 11, 88. So 88 prefer nonfiction. So there are about 55 more students who prefer humor books than nonfiction books. Any questions on how we did those problems? Now, for those of you that were doing the bell work, I'm just going to give you the answers quickly, and then we're going to go on to our next lesson. For the bell work, the answer to number 14, 36 games. For number 15, it's about 60,000, about 72,500, about 7,200. The probability of Jaden making a free throw is 15%. Predict the number of free throws that he can expect to make if he attempts 40 free throws. He'll make about 6 of them because he's not, he's only at 15%, kids. He doesn't make very many of them. I think Mrs. Robertson's percentage is better than that. I can play basketball. I'm not, now I can't really guard and move, but I can still make baskets. Now, number 17 is C, number 18 goes to A, and 19 goes to B. Any questions? All right, now we're ready to go to our next lesson, and the new lesson we're going to do today is lesson 2, biased and unbiased. So it's we're going to look at sample populations and biased and unbiased. Page 801. 801. Now we are following the book the way that they do at the junior high. I probably would follow the book without jumping around so much. I might jump around a little bit, but they do a lot of skipping around in the book there. So I just want you to be used to that. When you go to the junior high next year, you won't have math books, kids. They'll give you packets and things, so it'll be a little different. You won't have a math book. So, page 801, unbiased and biased. So let's look at what we have here on page 801, lesson 2. It says, a TV programming manager wants to conduct a survey to determine which reality television show is the favorite of viewers in a certain viewing area. He is considering the 3 samples shown. Draw an X through the 2 samples that would not fairly represent all the people in the viewing area. Sample 1, 100 people that are trying out for a reality show. Sample 2, 100 students at your middle school. Sample 3, every 100th person at a shopping mall. So we are to put an X through the 2 samples that would not fairly represent all the people in that town. Instead of a viewing area, let's call it a town. So, is that going to be a fair one? No, they're only going to choose, they really like the reality show, so let's put an X through that. Do you think middle school students are a good representation of what Mrs. Robertson is watching on television and people my age?
No.
Probably not. The 100th person at a shopping mall. Now, we don't have as many people at shopping malls now since we had COVID, but used to, that you had people of all ages at a shopping mall. That one would be the best one to use.
What does it mean by 100?
Like they'd count everyone, like the 100th person, they would ask them a question. And the person probably was going to say, I don't want to be bothered right now. That's what I always say. I never like to answer things when I'm shopping at a shopping mall or someplace. It's like, leave me alone. But that's what this one was about. Okay, let's go on to page 502. We're going to talk about different samples. To get valid results, here we go. A sample must be chosen very carefully. An unbiased sample is selected so that it accurately represents the entire population. 2 ways to pick an unbiased sample are listed below. Now, that's the type of sample you want, an unbiased sample, because that's like a true representation. Biased means you are tricking people into thinking that everyone likes this. So you don't want a biased sample. That is like where they trick you into going with what they want. It's not a true good sample. All right? So, type a simple random sample. What is a simple random sample? Well, it is where each item or person in the population is as likely to be chosen as any other. So it's just very random and it just covers every group and it doesn't put a better chance on one than the other. What's an example of that? Each student's name is written on a piece of paper. The names are placed in a bowl and names are picked without looking. So that would be a simple random sample. Now, we have a systematic random sample. What does that mean? The items or people are selected according to a specific time or time interval. Every 20th person is chosen from an alphabetical list of all students attending a school. That would be an example of that. And these are both unbiased samples. Okay? Now, a biased sample is one or more parts of the population are favored over others. That's a nice way to put it. It's favored over others. 2 ways to pick a biased sample are listed below. Convenient sample. A convenient sample consists of members of a population that are easily assessed. An example of that? To represent all the students attending a school, the principal surveys the students in one math class. Okay, now, if you interviewed this class, and then because you're a cluster class, and then if they interviewed someone in my 5th period class about something, this class would probably have different answers than that class, especially if it were about math questions, because you understand math concepts a little better than what they do, okay? So that would be a convenient sample, and it would be biased because of different types of things, different types of experiences that they have or what they are interested in. Then we have the voluntary response sample. A voluntary response sample involves only those who want to participate in the sampling. Students at a school who wish to express their opinions complete an online survey. Those are usually people that have complaints, and they're the ones that are going to complain about everything. The people that are happy about it, they won't be in the survey. So that's what that is sort of implying. Now, everyday use. Bias is a tendency or a prejudice in everyday use. Math use. Bias is an error introduced by selecting or encouraging a specific outcome. You kids are smart. If you know that you wanted to get something and you had to prove that in order to get it, you had to have so many people to vote on it a certain way, and you really wanted it bad, you would know where to go to ask certain people. You'd only ask the people that were going to answer your way, right? And you could get what you wanted. That's a biased sample, and that happens sometimes. Determine whether the conclusion is valid. A random sample, now this is good. Random samples are good of students at a middle school shows that 10 students prefer listening to rock, 15 students prefer listening to hip hop, and 25 students prefer no music while they exercise. It can be concluded that half the students prefer no music while they exercise. This is a random sample, so the sample is unbiased and the conclusion is valid. Now, it is valid for the people that they asked. I really think, how many of you like to listen to music when you exercise? Or when you're active? I would say active, because I don't think you guys do exercise classes. You do soccer, basketball, baseball, just stuff. Okay. I figured it would be more than 50%. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Number 2. Aiden, remind me I have to still take attendance. I have not done that yet.
Okay.
Number 2. Every 10th person who walks into a department store is surveyed to determine his or her music preference. Out of 150 customers, 70 stated that they prefer rock music. The manager concludes that about half of all customers prefer rock music. Well, since the population is every 10th customer of a department store, the sample is unbiased because it's a random sample. Yep, it's a systematic random sample. The conclusion is valid. Now let's look at number 3. In number 3, the customers of a music store are surveyed to determine their favorite leisure time activity. The results are shown in the graph. The store manager concludes that most people prefer to listen to music in their leisure time. Well, let's look at what we have here. 9% other, 85% listening to music, 6% play sports. The customers of a music store probably like to listen to music. Since it's at a music store, it is going to make it biased. The sample is biased. If it would have been at a shopping mall, not a specific store, that would be different. If they would have interviewed people at Dick's Sporting Good, do you think they would only have 6 people interested in sports at that store? No, it would be greater. So that's an example of a biased survey. Kit?
This isn't really, is this like more kind of logic than that?
It is, but we have to do it because it's statistics. This is 7th grade level statistics, yes. Yeah, hurry up. All right, now, part A, it says, let's determine. A radio station asks its listeners to indicate their preference for one of 2 candidates in an upcoming election. 72% of the listeners who responded prefer candidate A. So the radio station announced that candidate A would win the election. Is the conclusion valid? Okay, think about it. Is that a valid prediction?
No.
Is it a valid prediction?
It's voluntary. I'm not sure. Yeah, that is true. It is voluntary. It is voluntary.
Okay. Yes.
Can I say why?
Yes.
I think it's not valid because I think it's just an example of a convenience.
It's a convenience. It's just the people listening to the radio station. Once again, it could be, depending on what the radio station is, if it's all talk radio, it's going to be people more my age, and my age might vote differently than someone who's younger, like, you guys are too young to vote, but someone 18 or so. So it is not valid.
I'm 5,000. 6 years. I'm 21, guys.
The population is restricted. It is, and it would also be a voluntary response because they volunteered, a voluntary response. Okay, use sampling to predict. A valid sampling method uses unbiased samples. Okay, valid sampling, unbiased samples. If a sampling method is valid, you can make generalizations about the population. Now let's go to page 804. Let's look at this store here. A store sells 3 types of pants: jeans, capris, and cargos. Now, the store workers survey 50 customers at random about their favorite type of pants. Now, since this is a store that sells different types of pants, it's probably going to be pretty good, because of what they're selling. The survey responses are indicated at the right. If 450 pairs of pants are ordered, how many should be jeans? So this is a store manager. They're trying to figure out how much they need to order for their upcoming inventory. So they're looking at what's going on, and they have to predict for what they're going to do for their next 450 pairs of pants. So, first, determine whether the sample is valid. And yes, we determined it is valid. The sample is a simple random sample since customers were randomly selected. So it is valid. So you have, out of the total is 50, how many would prefer jeans? 25 over 50 or 50%. So then you find 50% of 450. 0.5 times 450 is 225. So they should order about 225 pairs of jeans. Another way you can just divide 450 by 2 will give you the same answer. Now let's do the guided practice on page 804. It says, Zach is trying to decide which of the 3 golf courses is the best: Whispering Trail, Tall Pines, and Rolling Meadows. Do they have golf courses in that game?
And what?
In Fortnite, do they play golf in that game?
You can actually play golf.
I don't know. I've not played that game. I just was curious. All right. Let's go back and focus only to this. Shh. Refocus. Shh. We're not talking about Fortnite now. I brought it up. Shh. Only because I didn't know if these were names of golf courses in that game. Interesting. Shh. 3, 2, 1. Zach is trying to decide which one's the best one to go. Is the sample method valid? If so, suppose Zach surveyed 150 more people. How many people would be expected to vote for Rolling Meadows? The sample is a random sample, so it's valid. It's a random sample. Random sample is valid. And then our total number of people, what, 25? So Rolling Meadows. So here we have 7 over 25 equals what over 150? Well, 25 is a factor of 150. 25 times 6 is 150. And 7 times 6 equals 42. So you'll have 42 people. Any questions on how to do that one? Number 2, to find how much money the average American family spends to cool their home, 100 Alaskan families are surveyed at random. Of the families, 85 said that they spend less than $75 per month on cooling. The researcher concluded that the average American family spends less than $75 on cooling per month.
No, it actually gets to like 1,000,000 degrees.
Is the conclusion valid?
No.
That is right. It is not valid. Yes, you don't go to Alaska and see, most of them probably don't even have air conditioners.
That's like going to Amazon.
They don't need air.
It actually gets like 60 degrees in the summer. That's like the hottest it gets.
Okay.
Yeah, that's hot.
Why? Because it's a convenient sample, since people in other states would spend much more than those in Alaska to keep their homes cool. Okay. Now, what do I want you to work on for your classwork, homework? I want you to do page 805.
That's a lot of damage.
Shh. 1 to 4. Quiet. Is everything okay?
Yeah, but what about slip up?
All right. 806. We're going to do the hot problems. I especially want you to look at number 9. So I want you to do 1 to 10. And I think that will be enough. I will be returning your tests in just a moment. We are not working in groups, so I can give you your tests back. After we go over the test, if there's still time, then I'll let you work in groups. The one that we took last week.
About